Now, all of a sudden, quid pro quo doesn't matter because now they see in the call there was no quid pro quo.
The whistleblower said quid pro quo 8 times. It was a little off, no times.
You were directly involved in the decision to withhold funding from Ukraine. Can you explain to us now definitively why?
Did he also mention to me in the past the corruption related to the DNC server? Absolutely. No question about that. But that's it. And that's why we held up the money.
So the demand for an investigation into the Democrats was part of the reason that he ordered to withhold funding to Ukraine.
The look back to what happened in 2016 certainly was part of the thing that he was worried about in corruption with that nation.
Now that Rick Perry, the Secretary of Energy, will be stepping down, Perry faced a deadline of tomorrow as to whether or not he would comply with a subpoena from Congress in terms of documents related to his involvement in this ongoing Ukraine matter. Not clear how his decision to step down will impact his decision to cooperate or not cooperate with Congress, but the Trump administration has asked officials who are currently serving not to cooperate with that endeavor. Former officials, however, have been more willing to cooperate with congressional investigators.
I've been looking at this for some time. I don't think anybody's surprised that the lure became overwhelming for me to come back home and to spend time with the people that I really love.
You told Fox this morning it's not related to the House inquiry. You've also said you won't comply with the subpoena. On advice of counsel, are there any circumstances under which you would comply?
Well, I think you may be a little bit ahead of yourself there. Until our the advice of counsel comes out at today, you know, I don't know what that answer is going to be actually. So let's just hold off on saying we are or we aren't going to address that issue until we get a final advice from our counsel.
Do not adjust your sets. I'm Andre Coleman.
And I'm James Farr.
And this is NewsRap live at 5. Hit the drums. All right. So you saw it right at the top of the show. Joining me, the host, Conversation Live, my man James Farr.
What's up, brother Andre?
This is a whole different kind of show. I'm not going to hear any of that Elizabeth Warren this, Elizabeth Warren that. All that crap Barry's spewing every week and all that. You know, we can get down and talk about some real stuff.
We're going to chop it up.
Chop it up. Mm-hmm. Tell me what, you saw the package. You know what's going on in the country. Where are you?
Why aren't these people in jail? Why aren't they being just held in contempt of Congress? I'm like, I may be lame, I may be naive, but I'm not all that dumb. Why aren't these people in jail?
See, I'm with you. They're snubbing their nose at the system, at the law. They're refusing to comply with the subpoenas, but nobody goes to jail. Why would anybody take it serious?
I mean, is this executive privilege or a different kind of privilege?
That's a very good point.
I'm just saying.
And see, now we're talking about white privilege.
I didn't say that.
I did.
Okay.
I don't have a problem saying it, and neither do you.
No, I don't. Or moments.
We're talking about a whole different kind of privilege, and that's exactly what's going on here. Because a lot of people would say because of their positions that anybody would grant them this courtesy.
I mean, but the Constitution is only as good as its enforcement.
Exactly.
Right? I mean,
and so
it's just a piece of paper, right?
If you don't enforce it.
If you don't enforce it.
That's all it is.
I mean, I see them moving in a way that they're kind of acting like they're above the Constitution.
Well.
Like they'll change the rules.
But.
Or the rules don't apply.
But see, Nancy Pelosi is placing them above the Constitution. Because she's letting them get away with it. All it takes, I guarantee you, this whole thing changes if you send one person to jail for contempt. You could pick any Giuliani, anybody. If you go, that guy did not, Rick Perry, we just saw him at the top of the show. If they said that guy is not complying, put him in cuffs, bring him to me, lock him up. I want the cameras there when he takes the big perp walk. Everybody complies from that point forward because then it gets real.
It'd be like the first 48.
Exactly.
For rich white men. He'll be snitching.
Yeah, everybody starts singing like the Temptations, right? In public.
Right.
Which is sooner or later, and you and I both know this, sooner or later we get to the point, because before anybody goes to jail, before it gets real, everybody says, I'm loyal, I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to snitch.
And I mean, I get their loyalty or ignorance. I don't know which one it is at this
Little of both.
point, because
Little of both.
I mean, these guys are acting like they're made men, but
And
they're
they're
not
not.
really about that life.
Exactly.
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Even the president, who's acting like he's a tough guy and a
Right.
made man. No.
Nah.
You're not Don Corleone. You're not Sonny. You're not Mike. Maybe he's Fredo. But that's about it. And you know what? Even he is going to have his moment, and we're already beginning to see it, where he breaks down, and he probably at some point will. He may even beg the nation for forgiveness at some point.
You think his ego will allow him to come down and be that humble?
Do you think he's operating on ego or insecurity?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Then I think there's a strong chance he can be bought low.
I mean, that narcissistic pattern, I don't think he's going to allow himself to lose. You know what I mean? Like,
Which means he has to get out.
And then what about this? What if he is the Manchurian candidate and he's Putin's boy?
I don't think he's Manchurian.
And he's going to screw it all up, you know what I mean, before he gets impeached.
Well, you know what? Today, Hillary Clinton,
Yeah, that was...
not the most likable,
No.
she said that, or she implied that Tulsi Gabbard is in fact an asset of Russia and will run as a third-party candidate to make sure that the Democrats lose and that Trump gets a second term if he's not removed from office.
Is that on her emails?
She said in an interview on a blog.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe it had been in the
Oh, and the email somewhere hidden and everybody can't find it, and then it comes back up. But, you know, it's interesting times, any way you look at it, because once again, I mean, I think one of the most blatant things that I see is it shows, and you don't hear this on the news, you don't hear anybody pontificating about it, it shows the divide in the country, because you have one class of people who can ignore subpoenas. You have one class of people who can say everything, not lose a job, keep voters. Man, Eric Holder, Jesse Jackson, Barack Obama walk up and say, and start talking like that.
I mean, once the feds get you, the feds got you.
Right.
This is Congress.
Yeah. How fast would he be in front of Congress, subpoenaed and out of office, and probably in jail?
I mean, even Trump blocking
Yeah.
the testimony. I mean, it just seems like obstruction.
Which is exactly what it is. But none of that counts if somebody does not enforce it. The law is only as good as enforcement of the law.
So is Pelosi holding out because they don't want to lose seats in the next election?
I think she's holding out because she doesn't have a spine.
Wow. That's worse.
Yeah,
I was at least hoping there was some strategy.
I just don't
to
think
this
she has.
cowardice.
She's probably contemplated that, but I don't think she has the courage to go all the way and do what it takes. I think Adam Schiff does, obviously, but you know what? I don't think she does. I don't think she's right for the position she's in. And I said that before she got in the position that she's in. That, you know, the Democrats should look at somebody else.
I got to ask you, you know, just the other day, Elijah Cummings passed. And here in Pasadena, you know, he talked in his speech about, you know, if he dies, you know, what his life meant. Do you think that his work will be in vain? And all that he said he would die protecting, I believe, the Constitution, the country, the people.
I don't think the work is in vain. But it comes down to if the memory is in vain. See, because the work was done. The work was for the right reason. But now somebody has to it's like you pay tribute to that person. Somebody has to honor him and step up and say, okay, I'm going to pick up the ball. Who's going to pick up the ball and run forward with it? And that's kind of the problem I think that we have right now generationally, is as John Lewis is still around, Barack Obama is still around, but as these people pass on, who are the people in the wings waiting to pick up the ball and run with it and do this work?
Well, you know, Fox News actually tried to get a 2-for-1. They put up John Lewis's picture and tried to just say they both were dead.
But
you know?
but how long? I mean, I even said, how long is it going to be before somebody puts up John Lewis's picture on this thing? Somebody even posted it on Facebook too, and it didn't take too long.
No,
not at all. So here we are.
But the memes came flying with Morgan Freeman, Samuel Jackson, not him, not her.
Yeah.
We had to check.
It's like in the new Shaft when, which nobody saw probably but me, when Samuel Jackson yelled to somebody because they said, "Hey, look, it's Lawrence Fishburne." And so in character, he's like, I'm tired of that comparison. It's like that. You just toss anybody's name out there and keep it going. So let me ask you, because we haven't had a chance to really chop this up. I know you were with Barry on the show one time. When they kind of did the Dre can't be here, let's bring in James and hope nobody notices that it's a different black guy show.
I tried to kill the show. It didn't work.
It didn't work.
No.
Who do you like in this election so far?
Presidential?
Presidential.
You know, one of my favorite movies was Brewster's Million.
Okay.
None of the above, brother.
So
I have not picked one.
You haven't picked one yet?
As of yet. For me, you know, I kind of wait till the field gets narrowed down. I don't
Okay.
get so caught up in the emotions of the primaries and the debates and all of that, because right now they all are pretty much, to me, saying a lot of the same things. Similar yet different.
Of course.
So I'd rather wait until the convention, the party makes their selection. And then we got a real conversation. That's when it really counts.
All right.
And that's kind of how I looked at it the
So
last
mention
time.
conversations. We want you to join in Facebook at Pasadena Media. I went a little too fast there, so join us. We want to hear from you. It's always better for us when you're interacting and you're tossing your opinion in, and we can react to that. You can react to us. But you do plan to vote, right?
I do, absolutely,
Okay.
Absolutely. And I think here in California we had the luxury, and this came up, you know, when Colin Kaepernick caught a lot of flack, right? You know, telling people he didn't vote and whatnot. In California, we have the luxury of deciding not to vote, or in the case, as I did in the last cycle, voted for Jill Stein because I couldn't vote for Hillary, certainly wasn't voting for the other dude. And so it was a nice compromise because I knew the state would go blue.
Right.
The problem was outside of the state.
Of course.
And we've seen that data
Well,
now to show.
And you're right. I mean, in California now they've moved the primary so that we have a say in it, so to speak. But we know we're going blue. California is not going red for a long time. I mean, if California goes red, the Russians parachuted into California and stole a whole bunch of votes. We know it's not.
I think a lot of our red Republican figures, officials here,
Well,
got something to be concerned about.
It's starting to look like it. It's really starting to look like it. I think a lot of Republicans around the country have a lot to worry about because I don't know if people are as stupid as they think they are. Now, yeah, you had a group of people who were dumb enough to vote for Trump, but I think that the issue was you had, like you said, two unlikable candidates. I think anybody else outside of Hillary probably wins that thing. But now we have some people up there who are more likable than she was.
Who do you like? Because they're trying to erase Kamala, and I know that's your.
I'm still going to roll with Kamala.
Okay.
I'm not jumping off that train right now. Here's my thing. We haven't done any of the primaries yet. A lot of people are talking about where this person is in the polls and where that person is. Let's get to the primaries, and then we can really see where the race is. Whoever wins the nomination will get my vote.
And you know, AOC is endorsing Bernie now.
Well, who's shocked there? I mean, but why? That's a waste of an endorsement.
Well, some said, I think I read a post today from Peter Dreyer. He's been on here with you guys before, but saying that when Bernie drops out of the race because of his health or whatever reason.
And it's going to happen at some point.
At some point, you know, and so then she pivots over to,
Right. Now,
to Elizabeth Warren. I thought we wouldn't say her name today, but
Lord.
shout out to Barry.
All right, let's. All right, Barry, you got your shout out. Let's go to local briefs. Check this out. You said Elizabeth Warren. I just killed the whole conversation for me.
October 18, 2019. Councilmember Victor Gordo, marketing executive Major Williams, and local businessman Jason Hardin are in the race to run against Mayor Terry Tornek in the 2020 election. Under Tornek, who was elected in 2015, the city has seen minimum wage increase, the ending of the 710 freeway extension, and a tax increase that saved the PUSD from a county takeover. Hardin, a local businessman, lost to Tornek in 2015 with less than 1% of the vote. Gordo, endorsed by former Mayor Bill Bogart, has been critical of developers and the current housing crisis. Williams believes that the current mindset is in need of change. The mayoral election is slated to take place March 3rd, 2020. Local activists have voiced concerns over a potential decision on the YWCA building if made by city officials behind closed doors. Terry Frank of Cal Aware clarifies in a Pasadena Now article that the Brown Act would allow city officials to meet in closed session if the city is either acquiring, selling, or renting properties. Mayor Terry Tornick says in that same article that the closed-door meeting on October 14th was held because staff needed some guidance, and that everybody will get to see exactly what we got to see. There are currently 10 proposals from developers for the building, and public meetings will be held for its redevelopment. After managing the Gamble House for 50 years, USC will pass the historical landmark over to local control. By the end of the year, Pasadena Mayor Terry Tornick hopes to transfer operations to the new nonprofit Gamble House Conservancy, currently under board approval. Though the initial agreement stated USC would manage the house for 99 years, Tornick believes local supporters and volunteer organizations have proven beyond capable of preserving the house. USC plans to continue academic programs within the house, such as the Resident Scholar program that allows 2 architecture students to live in the house every year.
And welcome back, Andre. 4 candidates.
Four.
At least 2 we've seen before. One's the incumbent.
Yep.
The other is Jason Harden.
And we've seen a lot of Victor on council.
And we've seen a lot of Victor, you know, but and then Major.
Right.
What do you think? Who pulls this one out?
Well, first let me say this, since we are on the city's channel. The views and opinions of this are mine and yours alone and don't represent the station, the crew, the guy who cleans up behind us, or any of that stuff. All right, so you and I. I think at this point, because we are just getting into this thing, it's today, right now. You go right now, you look at the incumbent as the favorite. However, you cannot discard Bill Bogart. Now, I'll tell you where the landmines are for the mayor, and I'll go down with the candidates.
Let's go.
And if you want to bring somebody else into the conversation,
Absolutely.
then that's fine.
Okay. You want to start with Terry?
I'm going to start with Terry, and I'm going to start with Terry and Victor. Let's start with that contest.
Okay.
If people want to vote for Bill Bogart again, they might vote for Victor Gordo by extension.
By extension. Okay.
This is what happens in that kind of situation. And that's what endorsements do for people. The whole purpose of an endorsement is, I'm not running. If you want to vote for me, vote for him. Bill Bogart could probably get, Bill Bogart, I won't even say probably, Bill Bogart could get in this thing today and beat every candidate running.
You think so?
In the first election.
You think so?
Easily. That's how popular he was. Bill Bogart was, there was a reason nobody challenged Bill Bogart for all of those years until Terry did it. And then Bill got out of he vacated the seat for whatever his reasons were. So there is some concern there for Terry. Where I think Terry does have some strength is some of the things we just talked about. 710 went away while he was mayor, and the mayor gets credit for those things, even if he didn't do them.
Sure.
We know how that goes.
Sure.
The minimum wage issue is tricky for both of these guys because the restaurant owners who are unhappy about it say, hey, Terry didn't give us a seat at the table, but Gordo's EdTech committee crafted it. So toss the balls in the air.
It's dicey. I mean, and
it's dicey on a lot of levels.
Terry has the mayor has some detractors.
He does.
You know,
he does.
The ABT campaign that
we can't forget about that. Anybody but Tornick, that campaign.
You know what I mean? So it's there. He's not an absolute fan favorite.
Right.
You know, and I believe Councilmember Madison, back in the last cycle, you know, had called him like an autocrat.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And in the last cycle, to throw this name out there, so yes, we can bring her into the conversation. Madison endorsed Jackie Robinson, who now is making some noise about possibly
she's exploring
getting into the race. If she gets into the race, Major Williams takes a major hit.
Why do you think that? I think they have a different. I think
Some
they're
of their-
similar yet different, though.
Some of their voters are not the same.
No.
But a lot of them will be, because those are the two people who can make the argument that, hey, I'm a professional middle-class person who can't afford to live here, can't afford to play here, and say things on those levels. But Jackie can add, but I'm also a former council person who can't afford to live here, can't afford to play here, and I grew up here. That's going to be hard to overcome. This whole thing, to me, the whole election will turn on one issue.
Cannabis.
Two issues.
Okay.
Cannabis, and the first person to say we should have a conversation about rent control.
Absolutely.
Gains a lot of voters from the middle class and the poor people.
Absolutely.
A whole lot.
Absolutely.
And because we've never had that conversation to date, it's been brought up by the people,
Absolutely.
but the council hasn't gone there.
Okay, so let's look at it.
Go ahead.
Terry said he's not the mayor's. I don't necessarily think rent control is the answer.
Right.
That's pretty much his opinion on it.
So if he brings it up now, everybody else gets to go, why didn't you say it before you said this?
Exactly. Gordo hasn't spoken in favor of it.
Never.
Okay.
Hasn't touched it. Now, they did improve the TPO, the Tenant Protection Ordinance.
Sure.
You wrote a story in the Pasadena Weekly about that and about the Washington situation. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. And so now you're left with Major.
And Jason.
And Jason, I was going to get to Jason.
Okay.
But you have Major, so I don't know where Major stands on that issue. And then we don't know where Jason stands on that issue.
Right.
And then if Jackie is still exploring where she's going to stand on that issue.
Well, to go back, and again, it's not an endorsement of anybody. When Jackie ran last time, she called for rent control and an increase in the minimum wage. One of those things happened. People now want that second thing. I think Major has run for about a year now on some days, a very effective online campaign.
Absolutely. I'd agree with that.
I think Major has to take a major stand, not on, I'm going to bring these new things into the city that you don't have. Because anybody can say, I'm going to bring, hey, we need this.
But let me ask you, because I think I know where you're going. You want to hear some policy stuff.
I want to hear major things that's going on right now on policy.
Yeah.
Cannabis, rent control. Talk about these things.
But I wonder, would he be any different than what any other candidate is going to say on cannabis, rent control, the same issue? Because let's be honest, the cannabis issue can be resolved in March, right? And likely will be.
One way or another.
One way or the other.
Yeah.
Relief for what people are looking for in the housing market, rent control, that's a generation away. I mean, and that's a sad reality.
It might be 2 generations away, because here's the deal. This is the problem with rent control. If you can't afford to live here on Monday and I enact rent control, you can't afford to live here Tuesday.
Nope.
So it doesn't help anybody come into Pasadena. And if you're in your apartment and you can't afford to stay in your apartment, you still can't stay in your apartment. If we freeze rents right now, everybody having problems still has a whole lot of problems.
They still have problems. But I don't think that should overshadow the underlying for it. You know what I'm saying?
Not at all.
Because
not at all. We have to do something.
Yeah, somebody may still be able to afford the 500 increase, not the 750.
I agree.
You know?
I agree. I'm just saying we have to do something, and I don't think it's going to be one solution. I don't think we can just go rent control, problem solved. I think there's going to have to be a multi-pronged solution.
What do you think about Jason? Because last week, I don't know if it was you or Barry, one of you guys said you referred to him as both spoilers. So what do you think about Jason, Major, seeing that they are the 2 candidates that do not have the political experience? They're not career politicians
I think that in Pasadena, I know this is the fact. It's very hard to beat an incumbent. When in the last election, when we were putting a new mayor in for the first time, both Jackie and Terry served as de facto incumbents because they were on council. They blew away the rest of the field because of that. I think we are still in the position where it's hard to beat an incumbent, but I think another council person, I think both Victor and Jackie have very strong chances against Terry. I don't count Terry out, though. I'm not saying he's going to lose. I think that Major is an unknown commodity, and that's why I need to see him take a stance on policy.
I mean, because it's only been 100 years since an incumbent has been up for, only someone
twice.
to run against him.
Only
twice. In 100 years. So,
So as far as Jason goes, whatever he did last time, don't do it that way again. Do everything different. Take some policy stance that are serious. A lot of people, and there are 5 people running for running against council members. But a lot of times you will see somebody go, people drive too fast on my street. I want speed bumps.
I like Ryan Bell, though.
Don't know enough about him. Had a conversation with him online, enough to be intrigued. But you cannot run as a one-issue candidate.
Sure.
You have to look at what happens the rest of the 3 years and 54 Mondays, whatever that you're going to sit there. So I think the issue becomes between, if I was Major, I'd be talking to Jason about trying to get him to drop out.
Think so?
Yeah, what commission can I put you on that's going to please you? If I was Victor, I'd be talking to Jackie and having the same conversation if she gets in the race. You know, I'd be trying, I wouldn't want it to be the Democratic Party where you have 30 people running for this thing like it's a presidential election. I'd want to get it down to 2 or 3.
Where does somebody come up with a $250,000, $300,000 to run for mayor of Pasadena, California?
You talking about the mayoral race? Or you
Yeah,
talking,
I'm talking about the mayoral race.
it's going to cost a lot more than that, my man.
Oh, man.
It's going to cost John Kennedy to win his seat spent about $250,000 the first time. So you're talking about to sit in the mayor's chair, more than probably $500,000 in time and money in this
For a
city.
part-time job.
For a part-time job,
You've covered...
a thankless part-time job.
Thankless. You're like a referee. You've covered Pasadena for years. I mean, you know the history, the politics, everything.
Hang on 1 second. You know what? You want to stick around and go to Facebook?
Yeah, we keep them going.
All right, let's run a Studio B real quick. I know we're running out of time. I'm Andre Coleman.
And I'm James Farr.
Come right back. Join us. Let's keep it going.